So on Tuesday, let me back up. On Monday, as the Burn Your Bus movement was growing because the WikiLeaks, at this point it was just WikiLeaks and the Tim Kaine nomination. So the Burn Your Bus movement is growing. People are already talking about leaving the party and voting for Jill Stein. And so people were talking about walking out either on Tuesday night at the roll call or on Thursday night when in the middle of Hillary's speech. And myself and some people in the Georgia delegation said, if people are serious about this, let's let people know how serious this is. Maybe we're talking to superdelegates. Maybe we can scare the hell out of them and get them to switch by giving them a preview of what that exit could be like. And so at the end of Monday night's convention, we coordinated to have a bunch of Bernie delegates meet in the hallways of the Wells Fargo Arena. The goal was to say, like, this is a preview of what could happen tomorrow night and what could happen in November. And we also wanted to meet to talk about what we were going to do for the rest of this convention. Some very smart people decided that we should meet outside of the media tent. There were a lot of media places that were set up around the convention, so we met outside the media area. And I told people, you know, we got to have like a bunch of different speeches. You have to remember that a lot of these Bernie activists are activists. They've come from the Occupy movement, the Fight for 15, Black Lives Matter. So, you know, we did this People's Mic, and different people, like, you know, made speeches. Some of them, you can visit my Facebook page, which is Khalid ATL, and like, you can see some of the speeches, and they're really heartbreaking. But my speech was, if you're serious about voting for Jill Stein, if you're serious about making this Dem exit, then you need to go and speak to superdelegates tonight. Because by Monday night, they were starting to pass around, because remember, it's a television show. So by Monday night, they're starting to pass around paper vote forms. So on Tuesday night, when you see, like, the roll call is, you know, they say the great state of Georgia, the peach state, the state we bought you, blah, 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 we're casting so-and-so votes for Hillary and so-and-so votes for Bernie. They've actually already figured that out on paper the morning before. They started passing around to some delegations Monday night, and then they pass around again at the breakfasts that they have every morning. They tally up the votes so that when they get on television, they know, like, no one has to sit around, like, trying to figure out what the vote is going to be. And all the votes are turned in, so the DPG already knows. They're sitting there doing this roll call for television, but they already know at the end of the roll call what the total number of votes are going to be, because they've calculated all those papers up before the cameras even begin to roll. But as people were casting those votes, we said, like, go and talk to your superdelegates, explain to them that that a vote for Hillary on Tuesday night is a vote for Trump in November, because that is how many people are not going to show up. So we really tried to get that message out. It didn't work. So on Tuesday night, when she was officially nominated, there was a walkout. It was first called the DNC walkout. It quickly became dubbed the Dem exit, and about 1,000 of Bernie's 1,900 delegates, about 1,000 or more of us, walked out of the arena on that night. The seats were empty, but were quickly filled by seat fillers. You have to understand that the arena sits like 20,000. And there are people that are up in the nosebleeds that would love to come down, and our seats were quickly given away. So on television, you might not have seen it, but on social media, there are dozens of pictures of this arena being emptied out.
Well, I want to ask about that, because I had seen a report, I think it was on TYT, they were saying that the DNC got wind that y'all were going to do a protest, so they moved Bernie's speech from one place in the agenda to the very end.
No, I think his speech was always planned. What they did do, which is something you can also see online, is they put out Craigslist ad for actors They made sure that they had.
Okay, so that did actually happen.
Yes, they had at least 700 actors on standby to like fill these seats were going to be filled. The show was going to go on regardless of what we did. People did some very creative protests. And this is what is so magical about, and I think that people who are hierarchical and patriarchal and traditional didn't understand that this wasn't about Bernie, that people were fanatic about Bernie because he was fanatic about principle. That he has been making the stump speech that you saw on Monday night, you can pull up in 1982 in a speech to Congress. Like he has been making the same speech about income inequality for 40 years. And that's why people were fanatic. They were so fanatic, that nearly 10,000 people marched in a march that was 2 miles long from Philadelphia City Hall to the Wells Fargo Arena, and they shut down Broad Street, which is the main artery of Philly. People were so fanatical that over 1,000 people who were never going to have credentials, who were never going to get into the arena, over 1,000 people camped out in FDR Park, which is next to Wells Fargo Arena, for 4 days in the rain. It rained Sunday night. They stayed there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, camped out in this park just so they could be there to support Bernie and the delegates. And one of the most brilliant things they did, even as we were protesting inside, they had a funeral for the death of the DNC. They had a casket.
Oh, they didn't say America.
I heard
No,
this.
they had a casket with the DNC, and they did a funeral procession from FDR Park to Wells Fargo Arena. So the protests were going on outside. After that happened, one of the most amazing things is that myself and several other delegates, we didn't attend on Wednesday night, but instead went out to FDR to meet with the protesters, and I get emotional even when I think about it now. Just the love that people had for that platform and for Bernie, it extended from Bernie to any Bernie surrogates like Nina Turner, who were ejected from the convention, to Rosario Dawson. And so there was a stage set up in FDR, and a couple of us, probably about 15 of us, went up on stage to just sort of have our own mini convention with Bernie delegates, and we were asking people what they wanted to see us do. And I will never forget, there was a gate in front of the stage, and people ran up to the gate, and this girl ran up to the gate like she was in tears, and she was like, and I had asked, a lot of people had applauded our walkout, and I had asked, just like, by a show of hands, how many of you all want us to go back in versus how many of you all want us to stay out? Because we didn't want to, I was like, I can't speak for you until I've spoken to you. And we didn't want to like replicate this top-down hierarchy. We wanted to say like, what do you guys want us to do? And I remember this girl ran up to the gate, and she was in tears, and she was like, you have to go back in there. She's like, I want to yell and scream at these people, and she's like, you're my voice. She's like, and if you're not in there, I don't have a voice. And you just realize the weight. I ran to be a delegate because I wanted to like make some political change happen, and I also wanted to go to like a convention, but I forgot that like I was representing people, and some of the delegates from California, this one brilliant delegate from California, his name is Miguel. He came up with this hashtag, we are the 1900. And so we're like, we're the 1900, we're going to turn the convention up, we're going to roll, blah, but it quickly, for me, became the 15 million. That there were millions of people that we were representing. There were millions of people that were angry and disillusioned and pissed off at this party. And it was our duty to make the Democratic Party aware that they had pissed these people off and that you might not have these voters in November.